Good morning, Year 8. Going to go through revision now for ecosystem processes. So this is the module that we've been working on. It's broken up into a number of parts. So we did the following at school: photosynthesis and the leaf, minerals and nutrients. Since we've been on lockdown, I've asked you to study food chains and webs and respiration. Okay, so there are three parts to this. So I'm going to go through a recap, and then I want you to go away and do your own revision, and then I'll set the test next lesson. So photosynthesis is a process used by plants. They take carbon dioxide and water, and they produce glucose and oxygen. They need sunlight as energy to make this reaction happen. Okay? This ties in with the leaf and its structure. So on the surface of the leaf, the top side of the leaf, we have lots of these sort of cells called palisade cells. And they contain a lot of these organelles, which are called chloroplasts. Chloroplasts contain chlorophyll here. And that chlorophyll is the substance which needs the sunlight to catalyze or make this reaction happen. Okay, so it all happens inside these palisade cells, which are on the top side of the leaf. Underneath the leaf, we have stomata, which are tiny little holes. And we've seen these through the microscope. We did this in the lab. And they allow carbon dioxide to go into the leaf and oxygen to escape. And those stomata can be opened and closed. The water comes through the roots here and travels up through the plant to the leaf and the palisade cells. It travels all over because it's needed for a number of different things. It travels through the root hair cells into the root and then through the xylem. So if you remember, the xylem are the tubes that transport water around the plant. So the water can travel around the plant, it gets to the palisade cells where it's needed, carbon dioxide moves through the stomata, through the leaf, and reaches the palisade cell at the same time. So carbon dioxide and water are now in the palisade cell. Sunlight and the chlorophyll, which is inside here, is everything the plant needs. It can then produce its food, glucose, and a waste product, oxygen, which the plant doesn't need, so it gets rid of it. Okay? Lucky for us that that's done. The glucose is needed by the plant and is stored and is used as food. The root system absorbs water by a process called osmosis. You don't need to know that just yet. It also carries up dissolved nutrients, nitrogen, which is used for growth. Potassium is used for a lot of things. For example, one thing it does is help to open and close the stomata here to let the gases in and out. Magnesium is needed to make the chlorophyll in the palisade cell to make the reaction go. And phosphates are used for making protein. They are all important, they're all needed by the plant. And it can absorb all of those through the root system. And it travels through the xylem and to the plant where it's needed. Okay, moving across to food chains and webs. We have a number of layers here. So our plants are known as producers. And these make their food through photosynthesis, which we've seen here, and nutrients from the soil. Then we have herbivores, which eat the plants, so caterpillars, rabbits for instance here. So we draw arrows towards the thing that is eating the original organism. So for instance, the energy from the grass goes into the rabbit. The energy from the flower goes into the rabbit, into the caterpillar, and consumed by them. And then we have predators such as the bird and the fox. Okay, so sort of questions you'll be asked. Typically, what happens if, say, the flowers are destroyed by drought? What's going to happen to everything else in that food chain? Well, we can say there will be fewer caterpillars and there will be fewer rabbits because they have less food to eat. And therefore there will be fewer birds and fewer foxes because they will have less food as well. Okay? What happens if we take away the caterpillars? They all die from a nasty disease. What's going to happen? Well, the birds will have less food, so there'll be fewer of those. And that will affect the number of foxes. However, the rabbits will have more food because they'll eat more of the flowers. So there'll be more rabbits, which will feed more foxes. Okay? So it's a complicated scenario, and these things are very independent on each other. If you change one, you'll affect the whole system, and you need to be able to explain that. Avoid saying things like, all the birds will die, okay, or become extinct. That isn't accurate. What we say is there will be fewer of them because they have less food. Okay. And finally, we're looking at respiration. So respiration here is how we and other animals and plants make energy. And this process is fairly simple. It's the opposite of photosynthesis, where we take glucose and oxygen, we react them together inside our cells, and it produces carbon dioxide and water, which are waste products, and energy that we need to live and survive. So, how does it work? This is one of our cells here. You can see the cell membrane, which is the dashed line, the nucleus here. For respiration to happen, the cell needs to have glucose and it needs to have oxygen. And both of these travel through the blood. So glucose comes from the digestive system into the blood, and that's transported to the cell. The oxygen travels from the lungs through the blood and into the cell. Once they get there, this reaction happens and energy is produced. However, we've got waste products and we want to get rid of those. So the water comes out back into the blood and to the kidneys, and some of it will go to the bladder. And the carbon dioxide travels back through the blood to the lungs, and we breathe that out. Okay, so they are the key points that you need to understand. I want you now to make your own notes, your own revision notes, do a mind map, answer some questions. I'll put those on the homework for you, some links, and I'll set the test next lesson. Okay, good luck guys. Bye.